working towards building AI agents that can augment human reasoning, basically.
What were your key learnings from YC, and what do you think are some of the key ingredients for getting into the YC game?
We have been trying to get into YC for the past 8 years.
People think getting into YC, all the problems get solved.
Don't raise too much money. That's one example of how to stay alive. With the rise of AI agents, where a small team can achieve so much more.
So, what is the difference between agentic AI and AI agents?
A lot of people have different opinions of what an agent is. For me,
So, where do you see LLMs evolving in the coming months?
AI, software take a couple of days before you actually get an answer from that AI.
Do you want to mention any of the big names that would be a potential disruptor in the future?
I believe these companies are pivoting faster than anybody thought, and I believe that they have the capacity.
So what are the biggest challenges your team is currently facing while developing and implementing autonomous AI agents in a collaborative workspace?
I would say from a company perspective is
So welcome to another exciting episode of AI Disruptors. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of AI and compliance with a trailblazer who's redefining the game. So joining us is Ismail, a visionary from Superagent, the company which is revolutionizing the compliance space with groundbreaking AI solutions. So Ismail, we are thrilled to have you here to unpack your YC journey, share your insights, and also discuss the incredible impact that the Superagent is making in this critical domain.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So starting with Superagent, the company you're building, could you briefly explain about what it's all about?
Yeah, so Superagent is an AI company that is working towards building AI agents that can augment human reasoning, basically. So currently, in any given organization, we have a lot of humans doing a lot of different type of tasks. We believe that if you can create, a environment for AI agents to be able to conduct those same tasks, that would be a huge benefit for organizations worldwide. So that's what we are aiming at building.
That's great. Okay. So, and many of the audience must have known this. Superagent is part of YC. It's a YC-backed company. So, what were your key learnings from YC, and what do you think are some of the key ingredients for getting into the YC game?
Right. Let me start off by actually getting into YC. I think that is a very interesting story for at least for us.
Okay.
So we have been trying to get into YC for the past 8 years, and
Wow.
this was our third application
Okay.
that we actually were successful in executing. So the first 2 times we didn't actually get in, and the third time I thought it was just, I would apply, but I basically had in back of my mind that I wouldn't make it. But that turned out to be false, and I did actually make it. So the first lesson with YC is that if you apply, no matter how good you think you are, your team is, or your product is, it might be just out of, just based on mathematical statistics that you don't get in. And the only thing you can do after that is to try to apply for the next batch. And nowadays they have 3 batches a year, which gives you 3 opportunities per year to apply and get accepted. So that would be my first learning from YC, is that if you get rejected, don't give up. If you make it to the first step, that which is an interview that you have with with the partners at YC, I would highly recommend that you take contact with other founders that have gone through the YC pipeline, so to speak, and get feedback on your application, ask questions, do mock interviews. And the community, the YC community, is always open to like founders like me. I have mock interviews with companies, I would say
Okay.
around 20 a year, basically. And we do that for free and just trying to help out. So I believe that is also something that is very important when it comes to the actual application phase of YC. Let's say that you get accepted. What happens after that? And I think that that's also very important. I think the one thing that YC teaches you very well is they give you a lot of real world examples of what not to do with your startup. And I
Okay.
think those examples are very valuable. It's very hard for someone to say to a founder, you should do exactly this, this, and that in order to become successful. That's really hard to do. But it's very,
Mm.
it's almost more valuable to tell that entrepreneur what not to do in order to keep alive, stay alive, and be successful. And
Correct.
we only hear about in social media, on LinkedIn, on X, you usually only hear about these outlier success cases. A company goes from zero to $1 billion in 6 months. There are companies that are those outliers, but there are also a lot of companies that take between 2 to 4 years to actually hit product market fit. And the whole game is to be able to survive in the
Mm.
game for 2 to 4 years in order to actually find that product, that customer, that audience that loves your product, that's willing to pay for it, and where you can build a repeatable sales motion, and expand. So I think that's also very important to recognize that sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it takes time, and you never know who is going to make it and who is going to fail. So the first thing that I remember, like an anecdote, was that they took us to an offsite where
Okay.
they gathered all of the founders for the batch, and we were able to meet with all of the partners and a bunch of founders that have been through YC before. And one thing that struck me was that Gary Tan said in the speech at a dinner, he said that in this room there is 6 unicorns, but
Oh, okay.
nobody knows who those companies or who those founders are. So
Mhm.
that stuck with me as well.
That's great. Great. So you must be lucky enough to join the YC elite group, I must say. Yes. And so to add points to the YC, so what are some of the challenges that you have post getting funded or say getting into the YC? Because people think getting into YC, all the problems get solved and you got the first set of customers, you got the revenue, you got the product market fit, but the actual challenge starts there. So could you explain more about that?
I would say that very low percentage actually hit product market fit during YC.
Right?
There are examples of companies that do that. We didn't do that, and I personally know 90% didn't like hit product market fit
Oh,
during the
okay.
first 3 months. The point is not to hit product market fit. Again, some companies will actually hit PMF very fast, but most of them won't. So the game is about what steps do these companies that don't hit product market fit have to take in order to be able to reach that level? That's what they focus on. An example would be, don't raise too much money.
Mm,
That's one example of how to stay alive. Don't Because if you raise a lot of money on a high valuation and then you go out and you spend all that money and you still don't hit product market fit, well, that's an extremely huge challenge for you to overcome when you need more money, so to speak.
Exactly.
So that's a challenge. Another challenge, which I mentioned briefly, is hiring. Usually when you attract capital, you would go out and hire a lot of people. Well, if you haven't hit product market fit and you have a lot of people on your staff, that will deplete your chances of succeeding and staying alive over a long period of time. So keeping a lean team is something that they emphasize a lot, which I totally agree with, especially now with the rise of AI agents, where a small team can achieve so much more by utilizing AI in their daily operations. It might be marketing, it might be in compliance, it might be in software development, right?
Yes.
So that's also something that they emphasize a lot. And I think that, when it comes to the actual steps that you need to take, I think YC is very good at pushing people to make a lot of progress fast. Keep shipping, right? Keep shipping that code, keep talking to your customers, increase the velocity of those activities, and the probability of success will increase over time, right? So it's a probability game. And I think a third thing that they emphasize a lot is that, again, if you're a founder of a company, your goal is to increase the probability. Every action, every decision you make as a founder should be correlated with increasing the probability of success for your startup, right?
That's right.
Let me give you an example. So if you join YC and you decide to move to the Bay Area to build your company, or San Francisco, that would increase your probability of success. If you would make the decision to move to the North Pole and build that company, that would most probably decrease the probability of success. And your job is to increase that probability, right? So there are certain things you need to do which you might not want to do, but you still need to do them in order to increase that probability. Another thing might be that you might have an idea that you're really fond of, and your company has some kind of idea. It turns out that that idea has a very low probability of success. What is the next step you need to take? Some people double down on that idea, and some people pivot, right? And I would say that, I think there is, in my batch, at least 60% of the companies pivoted during the batch even.
Okay.
So including us. So I think that, being too stuck on an idea is just a thesis. If you can't prove the thesis is most probably crap. And you need to find some other way of proving something, So that's how I would view that part.
Perfect. And completely makes sense as well. I'm able to resonate the points which you mentioned with our startup as well. So what do you define as PMF? So what is your definition for that?
My definition for that is that, you have so much things to do, and all of these things you need to do are, the root cause of the workload is that you have so many customers that are coming in through the door that you don't know what to do. You need to hire more engineers. You need to hire more, customer support people. You need to hire, etc., 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 just to keep up with the demand from the market. That, I would say, is my definition of PMF.
Natural and organic demand, right? Not by ad spends.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you spend money on ads and people get in through the door and you are able to retain those people without them churning over time, that's a great business. Go for it.
Yes. Cool. Okay. So let's dive more deeper into the agent world now. So what is the difference between agentic AI and AI agents?
Oh, that's, you know what? I think that first of all, people use the word agent a lot without
Hmm.
even knowing, what it is. And I think also that a lot of people have different opinions of what an agent is. For me, like an agent truly is a piece of software that can act and reason and do, world. Uh, things in the world similar to human beings. That to me is an agent. It can interact with other humans, it can interact with other software seamlessly and reason around the task and the objective and the actual domain that it is active in. That for me is an AI agent. Now, if you would take, let's say, a vanilla GPT model and connect a search function to that, that's not, in my opinion, really an agent. That's just, a piece of software that you wrote that is pretty deterministic in what it's supposed to do. It's always supposed to search the Google index for giving you an answer. That's not an agent. That's more of an app, an AI-driven app or an AI-driven search or a natural language type of search. So for me, agent is much more, it's deeper than just connecting an AI to a piece of existing software.
Okay. Okay. So there is this particular notion that says LLMs have kind of reached a saturation point. So where do you see LLMs evolving in the coming months? So what's the new capabilities might we expect?
Uh, I think that the new breed of agents are focusing a lot on reasoning. So I would expect these agents to become even better at reasoning. I would expect these agents to be much more async than they are today. Because if you think about how you, as a user, as a consumer of AI, how you interact with AI today, what happens is that
Mm,
you go into, let's say, ChatGPT or any other, provider. That's where the bulk of the consumption is. You go in and you type a query, and you are very, you want it to respond immediately.
mm,
You want to get a response within, milliseconds, basically. So what is blah 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 blah, and then boom, there you got your answer, right? I think that will change. I think that you will have AI, software that will, where you give it a task and it will go out and it would take a couple of days before you actually get an answer from
mm.
that AI. That is what I believe is something that will be much more prominent in the coming year with the rise of these reasoning models that both OpenAI and a lot of other companies are building. I also believe that we see releases of new proprietary models that are very high quality, so to speak, like O3,
Correct.
O1, and
Correct.
you usually think that, okay, well, these proprietary models will be much better than open source models. And I don't believe that either. I believe that open source will have a huge role to play, and most probably, if I would bet on open source models to be the ones that in the end prevail. Because this field is very research heavy, and research has a tendency of spreading very fast. And when research spreads, the results of that research also spread. And I think that's something that we saw yesterday with the release of DeepSeek version 3, which is a model that
Correct.
is a GPT-4 level model that's trained on much less compute than an actual GPT model, but it performs as well. So I think that open source models will be prominent also, more prominent than before even maybe.
Cool. So, what are the biggest challenges in teaching AI models to reason like humans? Do you think AI will ever develop a form of common sense, or is that a uniquely human trait?
I would say that AI is in some cases today better at reasoning than humans are. I think that the problem is that it's very unpredictable what the outcome of that reasoning is. So I think that reasoning will I don't think it will take long before all AI will be better than humans in reasoning. That doesn't mean that AI will be deployed in a production environment doing reasoning instead of a human, right? And I think that in order for us to be able to deploy those kind of reasoning engines in production environments, we actually need to create an environment for the agent, a
Mhm.
workspace where these agents, where humans can collaborate with these agents in a much more fluent way than just chat. I think
Mhm.
that it needs to have guardrails. I think that we need to have a permission layer for these agents. What is the agent allowed to do? What is it not allowed to do? What data does it have access to? What data doesn't it have access to? What are the actual tasks that we want this agent to do? Uh, I think those things are very much more important when you talk about reasoning models, where you want to give it a task and you want it to go out for a week and work on that task and get back to you, especially if that task will cost you thousands of dollars in compute.
Great. So, can we know some of the AI tools and agents that you're using on a day-to-day basis currently?
We use, a multitude of different. Also, that is an interesting question because many people think that, there will be one AI, one AGI. I don't believe in that. I think there will be at least 30 AGIs that you would want to employ in your business somehow. And I think we already see that as well. You have some models that are very good at doing specific things, and you have other models that are good at doing other things. And in Superagent uses a lot of different type of utilities and models to accomplish the tasks that our users want to accomplish with Superagent. So we use everything from Gemini to GPTs to Claude, and also some open source models, depending on the specific tasks. And we have our own ingestion pipelines and routing pipelines that enable us to, hand off tasks to different type of agents based on, uh, what the reward model and what the actual domain of the task is. And when it comes to frameworks and other things, we usually write our own or use something off the shelf if that is available and at a stage where you can run it in production. I think that one thing that is a must is an observability layer. You need to be able to observe how your users interact with these agents, and these tools and models have where they interact with each other. It is much more important, in my opinion, than the actual framework or whatever. We do a lot of work in TypeScript, as an example, and we do a lot of work in Python. These have different frameworks. For TypeScript, we use a lot of the work that Vercel has done with the Vercel AI SDK. And for Python, we use other type of frameworks that are more, that are Python native, so to speak.
Interesting. So you mentioned there will be a bunch of agents working for a company, right?
Yes.
So then what would be the role of humans in the agent world?
I think humans will have a huge role. I think humans will be, sort of a guardrail, sort of a parent to the models in the beginning, and steer them in the right direction, give them feedback on things that they do well and things that they are not doing well. I think that's important. I think that if you are a decision maker, that will most probably still be around. And a good example is compliance. There's a lot of work that a machine could do in compliance, right? One thing they can't do is that since compliance is regulated by law, you can't have a machine being responsible for doing compliance. You actually need humans that are responsible because that's the law. It's very much like self-driving cars. Cars can drive themselves. The technology is there. The only thing that's not there is who is liable if the car, is in an accident. And it's the same with AI agents. You still need humans because humans need to be responsible. Humans are the ones that are in the end responsible for, let's say, a big ad account on AdWords. You don't want an AI to be responsible for that. You as a boss, as a CEO, want a CMO that you can hold responsible. And that's very prominent in compliance. It's even regulated by law. So I think humans will play a big part. But again, there are some tasks that humans don't need to do, and they should be offloaded to machines, to computers.
Okay. So the next question is, so you have shared the podium with other great YC startups as well, right? So do you want to mention any of the big names that would be a potential disruptor in the future?
YC startups that would be disruptors in the future. I think that, when it comes to disruptors, I think that I don't have any specific, startup in my cohort. Again, it's very early. It's been a year, and I have no idea who is doing what and how well they're doing. We have sessions and we have meetups, but I'm not, the right person to say that. I have
Okay.
insufficient information on the startups. But what I can say
Okay.
is that, 1 year ago, everybody thought that startups would disrupt all of the big players in tech. So Google, you heard it all over the place. Google is dead. Google search is dead. This is dead. Microsoft is dead, etc., etc. I believe that to be false. I believe these companies are pivoting faster than anybody thought. And I believe that they have the capacity and the know-how to build amazing products and to enhance their existing portfolio with the help of AI. And you see that already. And I
Correct.
think that is a false, narrative to have.
Correct. And most importantly, they have the biggest distribution that startups do
Exactly.
not have.
Exactly.
Yes.
That startups
So,
do not have. That doesn't say that startups can't disrupt. It just says that it won't be that easy. The same fundamentals you had 10 years ago for disrupting Google still exist. Nothing has changed in the fundamentals of building a business, I would say, except for the only thing that's changed, in my opinion, is that founders need less capital to build a huge company. They need less employees to build a huge company, but they still need to do the work. They still need to build a product. They still need to hit product market fit. They still need to create distribution. They still
very
need to
true.
do all of these things.
Very true. Yes. So, what are the biggest challenges your team is currently facing while developing and implementing autonomous AI agents in a collaborative workspace?
I mean, the biggest challenges we have is as a company, I would say from a company perspective is hitting PMF. That's the challenge that we are bound and set on solving for Superagent. We're not yet there, but we are gradually making progress towards that inflection point. That's from a company perspective. From a technology perspective, I still think that models are quite dumb. They might score well on, benchmarks that people make up. And there's a lot of benchmarks. But if you ask it a questions, if you really wanted to do a task,
Yeah.
you most probably get, surprised on how crap it is at actually doing that task. Now that tells me something. That tells me that there are stuff that's missing for the AI to actually be able to complete, tasks similar to human level completion of tasks. And the other thing is that the models need to get much better. And that is something that's happening all the time, right? They're getting better every day. I think that is a technical challenge. And I think as a founder, you need to position yourself in a place where you're not competing with the models. You need to be able to build a business where every iteration of a model will enhance your business. So if you are in an opposite, opposite place where every enhancement in the model creates more challenges for your business. Let's say it's more competition because you're in the model business. That would be a bad place to be, I would say. So you need to find, in the value chain, you need to understand where you can provide value as a company, as a founder, and how you can leverage technology leaps that are done by other companies in order to derive value from that as well, instead of competing. So I think that, the famous Peter Thiel thing where you should find a market where you basically have a monopoly, even though it might be small, is a smart strategy. Compliance is one of them, but there are a bunch of other fields out there that where you can build a strong position by leveraging advances in technology.
Very true. So, could you share practical examples where agents are being effectively used today?
Yeah, so one example I can share is that previously you need to have someone in the organization that made the trainings, someone that recorded the trainings. You need to go to consultants to, create the training. It's a very long, tedious, and expensive process. And in the end, the result is shit. Nobody wants to actually listen to those trainings, right? So a good example of AI agents that we have deployed using Superagent to our users is that we can automatically create these trainings, personalize them for a user, and make them in a way where the user actually wants to consume them with the actual information that is relevant to that user, to that employee.
So, we are almost in the final phase of the podcast. So, do you have any final insights for especially startup founders who are watching this podcast?
Yeah, I have two things. Keep shipping. Always ship, always ship. That is, if you don't ship, you die. That's just, physics. So you have to ship every day. It doesn't matter if what you're shipping is crap, you still have to ship. You learn by iterating, you learn by pushing, you learn by talking to your users. So always ship, always ship. That's the number one. Number two is never die. Never die. So do everything you can to stay alive for the coming 4 years, right? Because a lot of things will change very rapidly in this space, at least in the space that I'm in. And I'm guessing in all other spaces as well. You need to be alive to be able to capture as much value as possible in the end of that, cycle. Very similar to how the internet was born. You had a lot of companies that died very quickly in the 2000s, early 2000s. And what you can learn from that is that if they had keeping alive, doing the right things, they might be the winners today. Instead, the winners were a search engine on Stanford, a bookstore, and other things that weren't even at that time. You wouldn't say that a bookstore online would be the winner of compute and become AWS as we know it. You wouldn't say that. But they kept alive and they pivoted to these positions where they built monopolies and won. And I think that is the second lesson that I would give founders. Find a way to keep alive and don't die too early.
So, Ismail, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the AI Disruptors show. Your insights has been truly inspiring, and for our listeners as well, if you would like to learn more about the super agent or connect with Ismail, check out the links in the show notes. And as always, thank you to our audience for tuning into the AI Disruptors. Share this episode with anyone who's as passionate about AI as we are. Until next time, keep disrupting. Cheers. Bye.
Yes, thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.